Today's lesson is 187. I bless the world because I bless myself. And like we were saying earlier, this is an unusual lesson for the Course.
Yeah.
Because it really spotlights how thought becomes physical, and how we are actually in an abundant world physically if our minds are in the right place.
Exactly.
I know that, as you know, there's an awful lot of awareness of the power of the mind to manifest. Starting with the beginning of New Thought, but really accelerating around, the last 20, 30 years. But there's a lot to be desired, It's like just because our minds are so powerful and can make stuff happen, doesn't mean it's good stuff and doesn't mean we'll be happy. I can remember, this was in 1980. I had two friends, and one of them was like doing affirmations and all that kind of work for a partner. And the other one wanted a partner and a big Victorian house on the beach. And guess what? They both got it. They both got what they wanted. And they both turned out really challenging. Like really challenging. It's like, don't tell yourself what you need. Let Holy Spirit tell you what you need, because if ego gets in the way, it can be a problem.
Yeah, it's there's a part in chapter 13 where it says the attainment of the real world, and it's talking about your mind from the ego standpoint. From the ego standpoint, ownership is a dangerous concept, it says, because from the ego standpoint, it defines itself by the things that it has. Like, now I drive a Porsche, so I'm a Porsche kind of guy, now I'm cool. Or I have a job as a philosopher, so now I'm really cool. So it's all those external things from the ego standpoint that are defining. But if I recognize there's this true self inside of me, it's spirit, it was created out of love, by love.
Right.
Then what I begin to understand is that my problem is that I think I've lost that love, right? So the whole problem the Course is dealing with is our sense that we've lost love. So here's what this lesson is doing, and throughout the whole Course. If you understand that when you give an idea to somebody, that you don't lose that idea, in fact, it becomes stronger in your mind, then you understand the power of ideas to let you realize there's no loss in giving away ideas. And if I give them away, they come back in a greater fold.
Strengthened, yeah.
Right? So the idea that we're working with thoughts, we're working with ideas, and ideas are such that you can't lose them when you give them away, then you've broken the separation thing that says, I've lost love.
Right.
Because you can't lose ideas if you're giving them away. That should be an obvious point of sanity.
Yeah.
But if I give you, supposedly from an ego standpoint, if I give you $20,000, then I seemingly don't have it anymore. But what
this is telling us something different.
It's telling us something different.
So,
and what is that, my dear?
Well, let's back up a little bit. I recognize that not everybody who is doing these lessons with us has read the text. And there is an idea in the text which you just expressed. I think it first shows up in chapter 5, section 1, and I'm going to just read a little bit from there.
And it's titled The Invitation to the Holy Spirit.
Right. So it's in the first paragraph, starting with the last sentence of that one. If you can accept the concept that the world is one of ideas, that the world is made of ideas, the whole belief in the false association the ego makes between giving and losing is gone. Giving and losing, and you could say giving and sacrificing. And so it says, let us start our process of reawakening. Let's start the process of reawakening with just a few simple concepts. Thoughts increase by being given away. That's what you just said. The more who believe in them, the stronger they become. Everything is an idea. How then can giving and losing be associated? And it says this is the invitation to the Holy Spirit. Well, isn't that interesting? You know, it's like things that we never think of as being connected. The Course is connecting them, and things that we think of as just naturally connected, it's saying, hey, those things are not connected. You're seeing one straight line, but really from another point of view, they're not connected. So
one of the practical ideas behind that is you can see the infinite nature of love, the infinite nature of creation, that it doesn't end, that it's not limited by anything. But you begin to see that first with the idea that if I give away an idea, it actually increases in my mind. So one example is, you know, if I set the mood in a business or something,
right,
like
yeah,
that, then people are going to follow that.
right.
They're going to take that idea. Well, if they accept that idea, then everybody in the company is working from that mission statement.
Right.
So we can easily see in practical circumstances, I give away an idea, not only do I not lose that, but it increases infinitely, actually.
Right.
So by giving a little bit, we get a lot.
Right.
And that's opposed to if I give you something, like if I'm giving a thing or I give you my time, I don't think I can put it somewhere else. Or if I give this thing to you, I no longer have it.
Right.
Well, that's the whole ego setup in making us think of loss.
Right.
Right. And
Exactly.
sacrifice. And I have to suffer because I love you. I have to give you my time.
Right.
And now I can't go whatever.
Right.
But if we're operating on ideas, then and really what's going on is I'm giving you the idea of the truth of who you are.
Yeah, my value.
Your real value, I don't lose that idea.
Right.
And then moment to moment, little bits of fear and grief all along, little bits can be healed and the abundance of love comes back.
Right. So a key thing is to recognize that when we do give something finite, it represents an idea.
Right.
It represents an idea. So, you know, maybe I make a nice meal for you.
Right.
It represents my desire to nurture you and to love you.
Right.
If I'm doing it from the point of view of, I'm going to make this really nice meal for him, then he'll give me something back.
Yeah.
Right?
Then he'll like it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That is the barter and the loss thing.
Right.
Because then, if I make this nice meal and, you know, you say, you know, I'm just not hungry. I just don't want, no. I would feel like, oh my gosh, what a loss to me. I put in all this time, all this ingredients, all this love, and I'm not getting it back. But in truth, from the level of truth, that meal just represents love. And as I give it, I have it.
That's right.
And it just increases. It has nothing, the physical thing is just a carrier.
That's right.
It's like the truck
right.
on the road.
Right. So is this where the Course says there's kind of two kinds of giving in your mind? You can give to get.
Yeah.
Or you can give to receive.
Explain that give to receive a little bit.
Well, if what's really going on is giving ideas, even though I give you a physical thing or I make a meal for you, if what's really going on is you're a holy child of God, I want to nurture you in this way, right? If it's really about me giving you love, instead of the thing, then I get all that love back. It just increases.
It increases when we do something from love, we experience love.
Right.
It's like how it says there's only two things going on in the world: love and a call for love.
Right.
Either one, if we're paying attention to spirit instead of to ego, increases love in us.
Right.
Either one.
Right.
Love from the other person or call for love from the other person because we can answer it.
You know, this morning I did a class with course students I've known for a long time in Tucson, where we used to live, and they're women who've been in the program for over 35 years, 12-step program, Alcoholics Anonymous, and they're always working with with their sponsees and always trying to help them. And so the idea in that was, as an example of this, say somebody's just in recovery and they're fragile and they're learning a whole new thought system, and they've lost everything, they don't have a way to get to meetings, and somebody gives them a car, right? Well, it's not really the car they're giving.
Right.
They're giving them the means to go to meetings.
Which is a real expression of love.
Which is a real expression of love. And by the way, if they're going to these meetings, they may really become recovered and help other people. So that act of love is not about the thing.
Right.
It's about empowering that person.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's empowering them to remember who they are, not because they're incomplete in any way or lacking anything. You're just giving them that love so they wake up to the truth of that love inside. It's not the thing. It's the love behind it.
Yes. This whole lesson is asking us to recognize that what we value from the point of view of our awakening, the spirit in us, what we value increases when we give it away.
That's it.
If we work from the ego, it's sacrifice and loss, barter and resentment, fear and anger.
And ultimately death.
And then you don't get back. It doesn't increase, because if I were to give you something out of a sense of I'm not complete.
Right.
And I want to give you something, so you'll give something back to me. Maybe you'll give me lavish thanks, or maybe you'll do something for me when I need it.
Right.
If we're operating on that
transactional
way, then I'm increasing the thought of lack in myself.
Yeah.
And that is what the Course calls sacrifice.
Yeah. Our friend Connie, she was the highest ranking, she was Command Sergeant Major for the Arizona National Guard. And she did tours in Iraq, but she used different levels of leadership, and the lowest level is this one of transactional kind of leadership. But the real level of leadership is teaching.
Transformational, she says.
Okay, transformational.
Yeah, isn't that great?
You know,
she had several different levels, but those two really stuck for us. Yeah. Either transactional, what are you going to do for me when I do this for you? And it can be unconscious, but if you look at how you feel, that'll tell you.
Yeah. You didn't appreciate what I did for you.
Yeah, so I'm going to resent you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're the cause of my misery now.
Exactly.
So
that is the false love that people are trying to barter. They want real love, but they don't know what it's all about.
So let me mention this part of in paragraph 3. So I just want to read that.
So so that's on page 354 if you want to look at it yourself.
Yeah. So it says here, ideas must first belong to you before you give them away. So that's just a basic sanity, basic rationality. Of course, I have to have an idea before I give it. If you are to save the world, you first accept salvation for yourself, right?
Now, may I throw in here?
Yeah, go.
Because by now everybody knows I don't like the word salvation. It's also atonement or at-one-ment, forgiveness, healing. All those are synonyms. So you know which one Jane's going to use.
Yeah.
Okay.
And safe, being safe is a real big idea, because the ego is always plotting for your safety, and they got this. If I don't have that, I'm not going to be safe, right?
Right. Yeah.
All right. So first you accept the healing of yourself.
Right.
But here's what it says, because we've been saying that all of this phenomena actually happened outside of time. Time is what the mind invented, right? But all of this, the moment we thought we'd separate from God, from love, God solved that problem completely. in whatever form it is,
Yeah.
right? So we've been saying salvation is within you. All these ideas of love and salvation are already in you, but you're not aware of them because you haven't given them away yet.
Right.
So that's what the second sentence is. But you will not believe that you're saved, that you're in salvation, that you're okay. You're not going to believe that until you see the miracles it brings to everyone else. So this is the break of the personal ego, body, self. I'm in the mind of Christ now. And from the mind of Christ, which is rooted in love and God, I can offer forgiveness to everyone.
Yeah.
And then what the Course is saying is if you know that's your only purpose, then whatever you need on this level, whatever should happen on this level, will be done without your effort, without your having to hang on and how am I going to protect myself?
Right.
Right? Offer miracles, offer forgiveness, and at that moment, see, that's what I was emphasizing this morning. If I understand it's about giving away miracles, then I understand the problem is solved right now, not when she's better or when she or whatever, if something else changes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It happens right now.
Yeah.
And so I'll know that I have it because I used it, because I gave it away.
You know, there is an interesting thing in this lesson that I'd like to point out.
Please.
And that's the laughter idea. And a few lessons ago, it used the same idea. And this can be offensive if we're thinking that the physical world has cause, that the physical world is real and powerful. This lesson is based on the idea that the physical world has no power. Mind has power. Physical is an effect. And effects are kind of like inert from this point of view here. So in paragraph 6, it says, never forget you give but to yourself. Who understands what giving means must laugh at the idea of sacrifice. Nor can he fail to recognize the many forms which sacrifice may take. He laughs as well at pain and loss, at sickness and at grief, at poverty, starvation, and at death. Pretty shocking, huh? He recognizes sacrifice remains the one idea that stands behind them all, and in his gentle laughter, they are healed. And then it says, illusion recognized must disappear. And do you remember that lesson just a little bit ago where it said, oh, here it is. It's lesson 166. It talks about a sorry figure, worn, weary, threadbare clothing, his feet bleed a little bit. And then it talks about laughing. And it's like, how can we laugh when we see people suffering? Well, I think this is the gentle laughter of Christ, meaning, little child, it's not real. Little child, let me help you. Little chuckle, you know, from the Christ mind, not mockery.
So let me ask a question though. So in this situation, say I'm trying to help somebody that doesn't have this metaphysics.
Yeah.
Right? They have a whole different thought system or so. That's not someone I'm going to tell that your pain and suffering is an illusion.
No.
Right? What I am going to do in that situation is demonstrate my love to them in that situation.
Right.
And I can meet them inside me, I can meet them. They've just forgotten who they are. They've forgotten that they have everything. Let me supply that lack with my love to them.
And you may be called on to give them some money.
Give them some money.
Or whatever physical, means.
Right.
But it's like, and then that money becomes a symbol of your love.
Right.
So yeah, so let's work with this scenario.
Right.
And maybe it's a homeless person, or maybe it's your neighbor, somebody who really believes, is really experiencing in their own being sickness, grief, great loss.
In fact, we have two people, and my two sons, they're both under their they're having chemo right now, which is really tough.
Okay, it is really.
And they're and they're course students, right? So we're not going to have a false empathy. We want the true empathy.
We would always want true empathy.
Right. And it doesn't mean you couldn't teach people, okay, here's the situation, here's your reaction to the situation. You have control over your reaction. We may be teaching them that too, but we're not denying what they believe to be true here.
We can't argue with them.
Right.
That's not the point.
Right.
Yeah. So even course students fall into these very gripping mental states.
Yeah.
And that's all sickness is a mental state where the mind is focused on the body and its pain.
Right.
So what giving means, if we know what giving means, then we know that we have the fullness of God's love within us, and we can give it to them.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to be afraid of them. What would that mean? We don't have to be afraid of their sickness or anything else. We just recognize they are the Son of God and they have power in their own minds. Yesterday's lesson, was it yesterday? Yeah. Everyone has the strength, the power.
The strength, the holiness, and the wisdom.
And the wisdom. Strength, wisdom, and holiness.
And notice in that where it says that, it says it's when love is calling on you to make a response. It's saying the ego goes up, nope, can't do that. I don't have that strength, and I don't know what to do. I don't have the wisdom, and I have no power. How can I mean, that's...
How can I help? I better run away.
That's what the ego does. And by the way, there's gravity. And there's like, if this log falls on my head, I'm going to, there's all these physical laws, right?
Timothy used to be an arborist, so he thinks a disaster is a log falling on his head. Not too many of us would think about that.
So the point being is that we're emphasizing with their situation from the truth. And from the truth, they've just forgotten who they are.
Okay,
and
yes.
I can supply this love of miracle that'll help them remember.
Okay.
So I'm not denying their beliefs in physical causation. I'm denying their belief that they lack love because I just gave it to them.
Yes, and that is the core. And then you may be called on to drive them to someplace they need to go or to go get their groceries or whatever. You may be asked by Holy Spirit to give a physical expression to your love.
That's right.
And we always ask within. And if it's, let's say it's time, because that's something people really think in terms of like, oh, if I give my time, I don't have it. It's gone. It's totally gone.
Yeah.
If you give your time as Holy Spirit directs to help someone, what this lesson says is that you're going to get more time back and in even a better form.
That's right.
A better opportunity. And if you give money at Holy Spirit's direction, more money will come back to you because it's an idea.
Right.
And it's an idea that carries the love. So it's an expression of abundance.
Right. And it may not be more, but it will be enough. Right?
Always enough.
That's why we let the Holy Spirit define our needs here.
Yeah.
Because he's just saying if your only purpose is the atonement, if you really understand that all we need to do is heal this concept of self that feels like it's out of love.
Yeah.
If we understand that's the only purpose, then he's saying you will always have all the time that you need to demonstrate the atonement. So at that very moment, I can relax.
It comes right back to Matthew in the Bible saying, what is that quote? It's kind of slipping my mind. Seek first the kingdom of heaven.
And then
all else will be added unto you.
Right.
It's like the stuff is not real. The stuff of the world, time, money, objects, they're all ideas. They're carriers for ideas.
Right.
And when you have those ideas of love, they multiply. When you have the ideas of lack, That multiplies for you.
Right. So
Don't have ideas of lack.
so here's where it gets really subtle, right? Because if I'm helping another person because I want to be the hero, or I want to see myself as the hero, done. I'm not going to get the benefit. But if I do it out of love,
yeah.
See, I mean, one of those circumstances that comes up is that we think, well, if I express my love to this person, oh my God, I'm going to have to deal with their tragic personality, and oh God, that's going to be hard.
It's going to wear me down.
Oh my God, and all their shits, I'm going to have to deal with that. No, because if you give them that miracle, if you give them that forgiveness in that situation,
yeah,
right, the problem for both of you is solved in that moment. They may not be aware of it yet, but you've solved that problem for both of them. So that's not about I'm the hero. That's about increasing my experience of love and the other person's experience of love.
Right.
And it's just saying it's a no-brainer. When you start to do this, the things of the world, like I call upon God's name on my own, the things of the world and all their charms, it just disappears. It just evaporates into nothing because it is nothing. And that's how it says we can own this dream that we made up. We can't own it as long as we think there's cause in it. But when we recognize what we made up is nothing, then we're in a place where I can choose love.
Yeah.
Instead of I'm going to give to get.
Right.
Instead of I'm going to be charitable because now I'm the hero.
Right. So the title of the lesson is
I bless the world.
Because I bless myself. So we're always blessing ourselves. So let's say we see a person who's in great need, a homeless person sleeping under the bridge.
Yeah, I just want to finish that example.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How we resist giving love to somebody because they think we're going to have to participate in their craziness, right?
Yeah.
But it's saying that experience of love doesn't put you in this place where you're seeing them as crazy. You're seeing them as a calling for love. And then the Holy Spirit's not going to put you there where it's going to be more than you can handle or more that you can do.
If we get into that space, it's because we want sacrifice. We think we make ourselves more holy with sacrifice. That's what I was going to say with the guy under the bridge.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's like, first of all, recognize that if I'm seeing loss and lack and need and suffering and sickness, my mind is full of loss, need, lack, and sickness. My mind. So who needs to be healed? Me.
Right.
So I bless myself by saying, no, I am a holy child of God. I have all the strength, wisdom, and holiness that I need. And so does he. Yeah. So does that person. And give him that.
And
so
we're doing this on an ideational level.
Yes.
We're doing this on the level of thought.
That's the way it has to be done before we spring into action.
Right.
Because the action aspect should be controlled by Holy Spirit. So ask and you shall receive. Ask for guidance and you shall receive. But always give love. That's always in the cards. Any last thought?
Well, what I emphasized this morning in this lesson was the Holy Spirit's answer is right away. So there's no waiting for the solution. And that's what we continue to perceive ourselves as being at peace, right? Or I've got the peace right away. And then however the situation needs to work out, will work out, but I can go through it now in peace.
Right.
So, maybe that person's behavior will change, or maybe I will get the job that's important, or maybe whatever. But I've solved it here first.
Right.
That I have complete control over. Yeah. Right?
Yes.
The purpose of that.
Our forgiveness is our own.
That's right. All right.
Thank you so much for being with us. We'll turn off the recording now and open it up for comments.